hope you got the memo about the wardrobe today. It's Inauguration Day in the United States of America. The world is watching Joe Biden take office today, and he's doing so at a very, very difficult time, inheriting numerous crises, and in fact, inheriting a very divided nation. According to a recent poll by Washington Post and ABC, a whole 70% of Republicans, which translates to about 50 million people, do not believe that Biden has won this election legitimately. So we're going to dive into that topic in just a second. I do want to make a programming note, however, that we are showing and recording this before the inauguration has officially taken place. Just take note of that. But our question, regardless of the timing, still stands. Do you believe that Biden will, are you optimistic that he will be successful as the next president?
Well, you know, for a president to be successful, obviously you need collaboration, and you also need, a sense of optimism. And for the last few days, we've been talking about traditions from one president to the next. And it is American tradition for the outgoing president to leave a note in the desk at the Oval Office for the incoming president. And there is a lot of speculation that Donald Trump would not do that, pass on his well wishes and optimism for his successor, Joe Biden. There were reports today, though, according to CNN, here's the latest tweet, that Donald Trump did, in fact, supposedly leave a letter. And that Mike Pence has also left a letter for Kamala Harris. That is an update we just learned today. What's in that letter and whether or not it was positive and optimistic and well-wishing remains to be seen. It was likely written in Sharpie.
Might just say good luck.
However,
and in all caps.
And in all caps. But the reason I bring this up is because it requires, whether or not he's successful, it requires collaboration. And currently, as we've seen, U.S. politics is more divisive than ever.
Yeah, I wonder if he wrote the letter with a Sharpie at the same time that he was pardoning Lil Wayne last night, which is, just put those two things side by side.
Priorities.
Yeah, or Steve Bannon. Priorities.
I mean, the theme of the inauguration is America United. And I mean, that is a lofty goal. Good luck. There is such a long road ahead. A good first step might have been for Trump to actually be there. It's the first time in 150 years that a sitting president has not been at the inauguration of his successor. But then again, maybe it would have been totally awkward and weird. I think the thing is that Biden is going to have to connect with that 70 million plus voters who did not choose him, that chose Trump. He's going to have to connect with them somehow. So my concern is that as he starts to connect with them and try to, extend the olive branch, that he's going to then alienate the people who did vote for him, who are expecting a lot of change in the more progressive end of things. And I don't know how you balance both of those things.
Well, the good news is, I think, Cynthia, that 81 million people voted for Biden. And he's also inheriting now, he's got a democratically majority House of Representatives and Senate, which President Obama did not have. So the path will be far clearer for him to be able to get his agenda actually passed and made into law. And don't forget, one of the first things he's going to do today is sign off a ton of executive orders. And it's not necessarily success, but it's going to start to reverse the ship that was the Titanic that hit all of these, icebergs before it went
Isn't
down.
that going to upset a lot of people too? Like, I hear you. That's the first thing he's going to do. I mean, what message is that sending to the people who, again, we're still on board with Trump?
Hey, let's hear from Ann on Facebook. She wrote over 320 million people in the U.S., so only 50 million think Biden lost. I'm thinking President Biden will heal a broken America and get the country back on track. People around the world may have some respect for the United States again. Joanne, thanks for that. And I'm choosing to do that too. Instead of focusing on those 50 million Americans or the 70 million that voted for Trump, I'm focusing about the other Americans, 278 million other Americans. They might not have all voted for Biden, but he had more votes than any U.S. president in history. And I'm thinking about them and imagining the giant sigh of relief that they're expelling right now. I'm going to be optimistic.
Yeah. Michelle Obama said that this morning. She said, I just feel relief after the last 4 years. It's not just them.
But at the same time, a little pessimism is not a bad thing. I mean, this is a country that really for a long time buried its problems. A lot of people, especially in marginalized communities, know that this was a broken country, that there were two Americas that many, many people refused to acknowledge. And over the last few years, it has been undeniable. So maybe some pessimism or some realism that it is a divided country. It is broken. It is not the time for rah, 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 we're the best, USA, USA. It is embarrassing. The face that America has presented to the world over the last little while, especially the last 2 weeks, has been an embarrassment, shameful. Maybe it's a good thing to shake Americans up and be like, hey, we can't kind of rest on our reputation anymore. We actually have to go about fixing it.
And I think they are, because if you think about Trump's 1776 commission, which is a nasty piece of propaganda that sort of attempts to underplay the role of slavery in the U.S. and rewrite history to sort of like Americans' patriotism and perfectionism, if you will, on the world stage, Biden is immediately going to cancel that. That is an incredible thing. That's going to be one of Trump's last lies. One of his first lies was saying that Barack Obama was not born in the USA. And those are sort of perfect bookends, I think. Like, I hear what you're saying about pessimism, but today at least, man, like they are literally cleaning and disinfecting the White House. And I think figuratively that I'm feeling that as well. And I'm imagining other people are.
I think, I mean, listen, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I do have a lot of pessimism. I'm like sort of straddling both. A good first move for Biden, I feel like, was yesterday, was that somber ceremony that took place at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, remembering the 400,000 Americans who have died from COVID-19. I mean, and this is the first time that there was a national moment focused on remembering them. And you think about the impact and the families and the loved ones of that 400,000. I think that's going to be an extremely powerful moment for uniting, for healing. And another one I think is going to be the fact that there are a lot of Republicans who have attended this inauguration today. The Mitch McConnells, the Mike Pence, the Ted Cruz even. And even though, I mean, I want to throw things, so to speak, at those people for some of the things that they've done and said in the past, I really think that that's going to do a lot for talking to that base and showing them, hey, we're on board with this, so you better get on board too.
Yeah.
I think what I'm most optimistic about here is actually that democracy is messy, and that democracy, as messy as it has been in the United States, is also really resilient. And I think you're right. Whoever had mentioned about testing democracy is not a given. It is something that we are all learning. And this is not just for Americans, this is for Canadians as well. Democracy was never promised to be something that is kumbaya all day, all night. It is meant to be fought for day in and day out. And I know, as a Canadian watching what's been going down in the United States, it gives me hope that there is no perfect political system, but that if democracy is the best that the world has to offer, it's going to get messy, it's going to get tested, and hopefully in the end it is stronger when you do have someone who came in like a Trump to shake up the system, that the foundation on which it was built will rise in the end. That to me is very optimistic. And I think that is what Biden has stood for his entire political career. He believes in democracy.
And Harris. Yes, and that's why we're all wearing white today, right? I mean, we're wearing white, suffragette white, because for the first time ever, a woman will assume the office of the vice president. I think what's important to remember is that when people are talking about whether or not Biden will be successful, it's whether or not Biden-Harris will be successful. We are promised that this will be the most active vice president in history, that this is not going to be a symbolic, office that's way down the hall and isn't going to be consulted. She will insist to be heard. So when we're talking about true change and countering that pessimism and actually putting things into play that will affect people's lives, it is definitely Kamala Harris, but also all the women in Congress, Cori Bush, for example, who is doing such great work in Congress to make a difference. So government, as you said, Melissa, democracy, it even looks different and is looking more and more different in America.
And just quickly, what about Harris's husband, Doug? This is going to be the first second gentleman. I'm so excited about him. He's just such a lovely man and inquisitive and thoughtful. Oh my God, sorry.
So excited.
You're right. You're right, Jess. And for a lot of people, what's happening today, seeing Kamala Harris was a fantasy in the past, something they didn't know they would realize.